When you come to Catholic Health Cancer Institute, we'll get to know you. Every detail, from the genetic makeup of your cancer to your other health conditions to your emotional and physical needs. Because each detail gives us another opportunity to personalize your care and improve your outcome. And all of them can add up to a life-changing difference. At Catholic Health, we know you, we know cancer, and we know your cancer.
We've got a lot of sports in DFW, but as we grow, we need more. And this is a unique one. We don't have one of these, a pro volleyball franchise. And Dallas is getting one. We're joined on the KRLD News line by a couple guys involved in the ownership group. We've got Armand Sadoughi with us and Evan Stone. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time.
We appreciate being here.
Absolutely. So, let's start with you, Armand. How and why volleyball in Dallas?
Thanks, John. I mean, I think, we look at this as a really exciting opportunity. Depending on your source, volleyball is the fourth or fifth most popular sport globally. More than 800 million fans and high participation across the world. And then when you drill down on the United States, volleyball is the most played girls' sport in the United States and the number one team sport for girls in high school and college. And just recently, over the last few years, you've seen, record NCAA attendance at some of their games that almost hit the 20,000 fan mark. And then, Texas is just the logical place. Obviously, Evan and I both live here, but it is a top state in the nation for volleyball. And we just think that, with some of the great college programs like Baylor and University of Texas, there's just a huge source of talent, and we're really excited to bring the women's sport to the forefront.
Absolutely. And Evan, that's kind of what I was going to go for next is, there are just so many girls that play volleyball, not only nationally, but around here, of course. You see these just enormous tournaments on the weekends, and how do you think that just that passionate base of kids that play can translate into a passionate fan base when this gets rolling in 25?
I think that's exactly right, John. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Our group consists of passionate volleyball people. My wife and I have sat in gyms for club tournaments for probably the last 10 years. We have other members of the group with similar experience, with daughters that had played. So we are volleyball people. We've seen it firsthand. One of the reasons that we were super excited about this opportunity was really having seen the passion and intensity of the volleyball community in Dallas. So that gave us a lot of confidence that there would be a built-in audience for the sport, a built-in distribution network, if you will, for word of mouth for our volleyball team. Dallas is truly one of we've called it an epicenter, a mecca. It truly is one of the the strongest volleyball communities with incredible network, an incredible pedigree of quality of volleyball players and just overall interest. So we're really convinced that this is going to be a really strong entertainment experience this community is going to get excited about because of its tradition in volleyball.
There's a lot we can get into, but Armand, one of the things I did want to talk about is this league as a whole. And so this league starts up in 2024. It'll be carrying over after hopefully some big time momentum after in February 2024. Right in there, we've got some summer games as well, Olympics wise coming next year too, and then you guys will take the floor in 25. How is the league as a whole hoping to build momentum here over the next couple of years?
Well, I think there are some other leagues, I believe, that are trying to start up. I believe this is the only one that really actually has announced owners and have actually signed players and have a season that's starting in early 2024. In that season, there are already 6 teams that have signed on, and these are owners groups which include the DeVos family, who own the Orlando Magic. includes, Kerry Walsh Jennings, right, who's a part owner of the San Diego team. And there's a few other cities as part of that 6-team season. There may even be one or two more that are announced, so you could have 7 to 8 teams in that inaugural season in 2024. Dallas is the first team that has been announced for the 2025 season, but we expect a bunch more to be announced between now and then. So, you could have a situation where the league has, a dozen or more teams, up and running by 2025. And so that's super exciting as a league, and we're excited to be part of it because I think that we the product that we're trying to put on the floor as a league and as specifically in Dallas is a very exciting product, which is going to be entertainment for the whole family. And I think that's where we're putting a lot of work and thought into, since we have a longer runway than some of the early teams to really do this in a thoughtful and proper manner.
Yeah, along those lines, Evan, as you guys look into that, what are the decisions that need to be made? I guess where you play and coaching staff you're going to have, kind of front office and assembling talent. What does that look like over the next few years here?
Yeah, well, all those decisions are going to be very important. We actually are laying out the milestones as we speak. We have an owner meeting tonight. We're going to have many owner meetings, coming up over the next year and a half. We think, candidly, that really the first step for us, we have some really strong, experienced sports folks that are involved with the group. And so it's really going to be about laying out the overall chronology for us, but we know what all the big decisions are, including the ones you've mentioned. We're very focused on where the appropriate place to play is and that question comes up a lot. There are a number of opportunities, but we want to make sure it is the right fit. And ultimately, we want to put a world-class team on the floor. So all those decisions are going to be critical. I probably say the first one is, how do we build really a top flight organization with really experienced, sports and sports marketing folks and management folks to really ultimately build that team.
All this stuff just fascinates me. I love it. I am, huge into the women's sports scene. I get to do PA for the Dallas Wings, and so it's just, I love that there are more women's sports coming to Dallas. We don't have really a major women's soccer team yet, so you guys are kind of beating them to the punch there. But if you wouldn't mind, Armand, just talk about the growing women's sports professional landscape.
You saw in the last few months what went on in the NCAA, basketball tournament. I mean, you have now some real top flight talent coming to the forefront and people really embracing them. You had during the NCAA tournament. And I think what you're seeing now is all of those are culminating into other sports taking a lead when it comes to women's sports. What's interesting about volleyball is that, there's the women's side of it is as good or better or more popular than the men's side of things. And I think that is an interesting thing because it's one of the few sports that you could say that about. And so that's also something that really gives us excitement. And then, when you look at the tournament that just occurred with the League Nations, I think it was called the Nations League, that just happened in Arlington, by the way. There were sellout crowds of 7,000 people watching that women's volleyball tournament. So we just think that there's a lot of momentum specifically for volleyball. But I do think you're right to point out that I think it's going to carry over to many of the other sports as well. I know there are some other sports that have just come to Dallas, not on the women's side, but for instance, cricket. And I think you'll see a broadening out of some of these sports into women, and hopefully you'll have your soccer team as well at some point.
I was just going to add to that. I mean, and it dovetails with the initial question you had asked me about how the excitement of the school age girls in Dallas for the sport. I mean, we really see this as an opportunity to create role models, for them. There are just very few opportunities for these girls to identify with big time major league level women athletes. I mean, there is the WNBA, there's soccer, but most of the big time sports products are for our boys, our men playing. So here we have an opportunity to put on the floor strong, powerful, successful women that can serve as role models. And as Armand suggested, a sport that is more exciting than the men's game. And arguably, the women are more talented than the men are. In a lot of cases, they've played for a longer period of time. So we are incredibly excited for what this can serve as really as a model for women's sports, and to be able to deliver those role models for school-age girls.